Next up, we have Todd Bailey. Todd Bailey is the Director of Corporate Development and Strategy at Crown Castle. Todd has over 25 years of telecommunications industry experience. He is responsible for leveraging emerging technologies such as 5G, CBRS neutral host radios, IoT, drones, and developments in edge computing. Todd joined Crown Castle in 1999. His prior role was Director, National Sales. Please join me in welcoming Todd to the stage.
All right, well, great to be with you guys today, and thanks for RETCON for thinking of Crown Castle to participate. I'm Todd Bailey, a member of our corporate development strategy team, and on this team, we've got teammates that focus on corporate strategy, M&A, technology innovation, looking midterm, long-term, and product, who own the current product lines along with those that are near-term pre-commercial. Collectively, our group is focused on new ways to think about shared infrastructure. Looking over the attendees of today's session, there's some familiar names, some companies that we currently do business with, and then there's also some new names. And I thought it'd make sense to do a little bit of a table setting with who Crown Castle is, our mix of assets and capabilities. Crown Castle is publicly traded, ticker symbol CCI. On the New York Stock Exchange. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary on the New York Stock Exchange a few weeks ago. Our mission is to be the best provider of shared wireless network infrastructure in the United States. We've got about 5,000 employees across the U.S. Some are centralized. We do have our operational headquarters in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh, and then our executive headquarters is in Houston. But much of our staff is distributed across the United States with over 80 offices. When I joined the company back in 1999, we were focused purely on cellular communications tower sites, building our own tower sites along with a number of acquisitions. And we now have over 40,000 tower sites. So think traditional macro tower sites. And that's across all POP tiers. Then we were also an early mover in the deployment of small cells. So as the carriers had congestion issues, we had to deploy small cells, largely outdoor right-of-way, using smart poles and slimline poles and utility poles and traffic lights in the densest of metro areas. We also had to densify their networks using distributed antenna systems. And I'll talk a little bit more about those in a moment. With the fiber intensity of building small cell networks, we moved to building and acquiring dense metro fiber networks, and now have about 80,000 route miles of dense fiber in all the major metros, and about 80,000 small cells in operation or in development. And that's a very active and growing program. Had some recent press releases with regard to our small cell ramp. Again, back to distributed antenna systems, because this is kind of where we spent a good bit of our time understanding indoor wireless to help the carriers to deploy different spectrum bands or new spectrum bands, and to help them with addressing their capacity issues indoors. We got into the DAS business pretty heavily, and we helped venue owners with guest experience and other enhancements along the way. Our scope of building an in-building DAS is to design, build, own, operate, maintain, upgrade the shareable aspects of the network infrastructure. And then the carriers bring their equipment for their dedicated spectrum holdings to be propagated through our network. So we're going to talk a little bit more about indoor CBRS and the differences between DAS and indoor CBRS. But before I go there, through the various fiber acquisitions, again to kind of complement our small cell growth, we came with those acquisitions a fantastic enterprise business, and we've got thousands of customers that are consuming our various fiber products across the country, and we're on net with our fiber, with active right of entry arrangements, etc., about 37,000 buildings. So again, serving thousands of unique customers, building owners, your tenants. And then on top of the 37,000 buildings on net, we've got hundreds of thousands that are addressable in close proximity to our fiber plant. So like many of you on this call, Crown Castle views ourselves as the last owner of our real estate. I love how that translates to how we operate and maintain our assets, how that translates over to how we covet the relationships that we have with our customers. We're not project by project mentality. We're in it for the long-term relationship. So just wanted to get that out there as well. We share that mindset, and at Crown, we're really trying to anchor in shared wireless network infrastructure to where you build it once, you build it right, and you lease it to many. So that's core to how we view our tower sites, our small cell, our fiber, and what I'm looking to tee up with you guys today with regard to certain in-building CBRS opportunities. I've been with Crown for a long time. Again, I mentioned I joined the company in '99. I love this place. I love this team. I'll do my best to stay on track. Sorry, I went a little bit long on the table setting. So again, we built out the carrier-led. And when I say carrier, I mean the AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. We built out the carrier-led small cell and DAS networks in all the obvious venues. A lot of stadiums and arenas and college campuses and resorts, theme parks, convention centers, airports, and they're fantastic networks. And we're still very active in that space. But not every venue can justify the cost of a full-blown DAS network. Again, they're wonderful, but they're expensive. And this is where I feel indoor CBRS can help. I'm sure you guys are familiar with CBRS, Citizens Broadband Radio Service. I will not go deep on this, but happy to review your chats or any questions. Maybe we can set up some time offline. But just quick high level, about 16 months ago, the FCC authorized the first commercial use of CBRS, both indoor and outdoor. And it is shared spectrum. It is 150 megahertz of shared mid-band spectrum. It does have a tiering structure to always protect the incumbent user that really doesn't use it all that often, and it's mostly in the coastal areas. That it does need to chime in and take use of the band. And then there's private access users. There was an auction last year. We could talk about the PAL licenses or the private access licenses. And then there's general access user that's basically available to any and all comers that deploy a network. All of this, all of the gear deployed with regard to CBRS is then coordinated with a spectrum access system to avoid interference to any of the radios interfering with one another. CBRS in general offers greater coverage, quality, throughput compared to your next best options. Again, would love to get to meet a lot of you, and would be happy to do a deeper dive on CBRS at a later date. Shoot me a note or participate in the chat, and we'll get something scheduled. I'd also like to give a plug for the OnGo Alliance. We've been early members of the OnGo Alliance. It used to be called the CBRS Alliance. It recently changed names to the OnGo Alliance, but they're doing a lot of great stuff over there. I would suggest them as a really good resource as well. But we're excited about what CBRS can offer to building owners and their tenants. And we're in the process of lab and field trialing a number of different use cases. You may have seen our recent press release with Rudin Management a few weeks ago, where we have deployed a multi-tenant indoor CBRS network at their property in Manhattan at 345 Park Avenue. John Gilbert and the team at Rudin have just been great advocates of the promise of CBRS. They've been fantastic partners as we've explored different use cases, and Rudin became kind of like the obvious partner for one of these, just given we have fiber to a number of their buildings, including 345 Park, and this particular building, it's a bit of a marquee building for Rudin and in Manhattan. It's fully occupied with prestigious mix of tenants. Rudin was in the process of renovating their lobby and concourse, so we wanted to get our gear in there before they finished all of that. And then Rudin has their own building automation platform called Nantum. I think it's a subsidiary, Prescriptive Analytics. It's all around driving environmental efficiencies of the building, occupancy data, air quality, all the core components to a building to limit its or to minimize the impact to the environment. And this use case of theirs, Nantum, which is really an IoT network, it was complemented by the CBRS network that we're installing. Again, this building is fully leased, and our CBRS network, once completed, will benefit some of the tenants with their own private slice, their own private wireless broadband capability, and that's a big deal to a number of tenant types. And then probably one of the more compelling reasons why this was just a no-brainer is the carrier coverage in this building was just rich for improvement. In the 2 floors that we've already built, the lobby and the concourse, we have literally doubled the bandwidth availability with the addition of CBRS. So just to repeat, this same network is built to be multi-tenant. It's the same. It's the same network that's used for the building owner, the tenants, the carriers, the visitors. So again, back to Crown Castle's shared infrastructure, build it once, lease it to many. This is an example of how this particular network fits our core objectives. Not all CBRS gear is made equal, so I just want to point that out there. There are some that are 4G only and more like a Wi-Fi deployment, and others that are feature rich with higher performance and capability. So I guess know the capabilities of the gear you select. But the main components of an indoor CBRS system, again, private versus neutral host, but I'm gonna focus on neutral host. The main components are really the antennas, or the access points, the fiber and cabling, the aggregation gear, radios, and then the connectivity to the properly dimensioned gateway or core, which can be either on-prem in the building or off-prem in the market. And then, of course, as mentioned before, the connection of the antennas. In CBRS talk, they call it the CBSDs, but the antennas or access points need to be tied to a SAS, spectrum access server. And there's a number of different companies that offer SAS capabilities. Crown, when we're involved in like this particular example at 345 Park, we're doing the full-on design deployment. We're doing all of the core connectivity. We're doing the SAS connectivity. We're offering this as a service offering. The system at 345 Park was designed with the infrastructure to meet future demands. Again, not all CBRS is created equal. These particular radios are 5G software upgradable. They're O-RAN compliant, but our Crown Castle product team is constantly evaluating the feature sets from various OEMs and suppliers, and our labs are constantly running various interoperability testings and onboardings. So we can help size what makes sense for your building. In closing, neutral host indoor CBRS is consistent with our mission of shared infrastructure, offering a cost-effective way to address numerous use cases and user types, and again, all using the same core radio access network. And CBRS should be interesting to you as well, regardless of whether you partner with Crown Castle or a third party. It's new spectrum that can be deployed in an indoor environment that offers, again, a faster path to 5G, more security compared to Wi-Fi and other networks. It actually frees up Wi-Fi to actually do some of the things that it was intended to do before it got so clogged with so many different use cases. But maybe you've got some key use cases. Maybe you've got some technology deprived buildings. Maybe you're looking at ways to differentiate your buildings, especially as companies return to the office post-pandemic. There's other concepts out there. Think about how many fewer cables you could run in your building if you had a bunch of CBRS-enabled devices. One quick side story: at 345 Park, there were a number of locations where they would like to have had cameras, but hardwiring cameras in that particular location with that kind of fit and finish in the lobby and concourse, just not cost effective. Well, now we have CBRS enabled cameras that can make available coverage in that blind spot at a fraction of the cost or disruption to the building. So there's a number of use cases. Again, I would highly recommend the OnGo Alliance to take a look at some of their materials. I would love to hear from you in the chat board, or submitting any kind of questions, comments. We look forward to meeting you and seeing how we could help. And then I'm not going to do a heavy plug on Crown Castle, but again, our size. This is more of a know your partner. We can help. We can help even if it's not CBRS related. We can help you monetize your rooftops potentially. We can bring fiber to your building, given our existing fiber plant in the area, potentially. We'd be happy to look at ways that we could assist. And thanks again for inviting Crown Castle to participate. And thanks for listening on. Thank you all. Great to meet you. Bye-bye.
What a great session. Thank you, Todd.